So this is the Whole Man Academy podcast. I'm Anthony Asprey. My guest today is Ryan Palmer. Ryan is the co-founder with Dave of the London Sock Company, which we're going to get into. We're going to talk about the London Sock Company itself and how it was born, the British brand that it is, Mr. David Gandy being part of it, the great socks, the good causes they're part of, and anything else we can think of that is to do with business, entrepreneurship, and doing life better. Ryan, how are you and where are you, sir?
I'm very well, thanks. I'm currently kind of central West London, so Lancaster Gate, which isn't the worst place to be spending, lockdown and semi-isolation, being really close to Hyde Park. So I'm one of the lucky ones.
And how has it been for you? Because I know we spoke briefly before we started about you'd pretty much been working from home since March. So apart from necessarily the company, what has it been like for you? Because I guess you'd never planned to work from home, hence why you've got a nice office. But
yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've actually really enjoyed it. I think it's been a great opportunity to almost kind of just pace at your own time. Whereas like when you're in the office, like you're so distracted by, kind of people coming up to you, people wanting to talk to you, people asking questions all the time. It kind of seems that the kind of home working almost kind of like eliminates that, and people wanting to communicate you. We've got, we use Slack, and it's a phenomenal, kind of tool for kind of communications within the company. But you don't need to be immediately reactive to that. You can kind of spend a bit of time just kind of continuing to focus on what you're actually doing. And it's very difficult for people, when you're in the office to kind of know when you're really focused and when to distract you and when not to distract you. So, I think it's been, for me personally, it's been quite pleasant. I will look forward to going back into the office maybe a couple of days a week, but I think, a five day a week office routine is probably out the window, and probably for a lot of businesses.
yeah, it gives you a bit of versatility, I guess, if you can break up your week and go in. Does that mean that every day do you find yourself getting, having a morning routine and getting dressed, ready for work? Because I know that's a lot of for a lot of the guys, it's a mindset thing to start the day.
Yeah, so I've kind of gone into it's actually probably a better routine than I was in before, because what I'm doing is I get up at usually kind of 7:30, and I go outside. We're lucky we've got like a little bit of outdoor space. It's a tiny terrace, but doing like a half an hour, one of these kind of fitness apps.
Yeah.
And just first thing in the morning, just kind of literally getting out of bed, throwing on my shorts, my t-shirt, my trainers, and my socks, obviously, and going outside and actually just getting some exercise, before I've done anything else. And then it kind of sets me up for the day. I think when it comes to kind of dressing, I've probably fallen into the kind of more, kind of casual, but still caring.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I've not kind of fallen into that kind of that sloppy Joe, kind of just don't give a shit, just wear whatever I want,
Showering at lunch.
Yeah, I've definitely found myself, kind of more casual. And even when I've been having like important Zoom meetings, I'll still find myself not putting a shirt on, but instead, wearing like a nice jumper, or something like that. But clearly nothing below the waist. But that's...
No. To be clear, we're both completely naked as we're speaking. Actually, it reminds me. I think it was Steve Jobs that said, he basically wore the same. He just wore a white or black t-shirt every day, because when you're at home or if you're having to think about what you're wearing. So I'm going to just get 10 Whole Man Academy t-shirts and just rotate them. But let's talk about the London Sock Company, because was it 2013 that you kind of co-founded it with Dave? And tell us a quick bit about like how and why the sock company came about.
Yeah, so it was the tail end of 2013. We didn't actually have any socks until 2014. We got let down by our factory, and we ended up selling IOUs for the socks to arrive in January to friends and family. That was our kind of official launch. But yeah, I mean, really kind of it came out of the realization that men have got very few opportunities to add individuality and personality kind of in a professional environment and in a stylish way to get noticed for the right reasons. And we were both in the corporate world. Everyone was wearing the same color suits, the same color shirts, the same color shoes, and most of the people the same color socks, and
black.
Less exactly, and less guys were wearing ties. And you could see this kind of almost kind of real earn to try and add that bit of color and personality, and guys were doing it through these really kind of like novelty socks. And we would just see them and just be like, that just doesn't really look very good. Like
looks
when
a bit shit.
You just don't want to be, you don't when like when you're kind of in an important occasion or in any occasion, like you don't want to be known as the fun sock guy, right? You want to be known as the guy that just looks good and he's stylish, and you can see that attention to detail, and that says a lot about who that person is. And we kind of thought, well, we were really inspired by this whole kind of wave of subscription that was coming from the US. And, we hadn't really kind of like, stuck on the sock idea. It was just an observation that we had. And we kind of thought, well, let's actually do like a proper exercise to think about, well, what does someone do from the moment they wake up in the morning to the moment they go to sleep? And then it was just looking at observational growth industries, so health and fitness, vegetarian and veganism, men's fashion, kind of sustainability, et cetera. And then looking at, okay, well, where do we think that we could create an opportunity for subscription where we can have that recurring relationship with the customer, where we can really kind of build a community. And we just strangely kept coming back to socks. Like for some reason, we just like every time that we were trying to kind of get away from it, we would just get pulled back in again as, it's an accessory, but it's also a commodity.
Yeah.
It's a hugely popular giftable item as well. So, you've got your kind of your male customers, for kind of like the wearers, we were very much focused on that kind of male brand element, but also you've got your female customers as your gift buyers.
Yeah.
And we really kind of, when we were researching and looking into this further, we couldn't really kind of find many, if any, brands that were really owning the category. There was lots of brands. I mean, clearly most menswear brands sell socks, but for most brands, it's an afterthought. It's not something that they're really kind of focused on quality, on the style, on the attention to detail. It's really just that it's a till purchase.
Yeah.
So we kind of saw this opportunity where actually we could really kind of help guys, feel better about themselves every day by thinking about how we can add that bit of color, that bit of personality, and really help them get noticed for the right reasons. And it kind of all went from there.
Well, you said the word color there, and that was one of the big things. Think back to when I worked in the city, I only ever, I think, wore black socks. And quite frankly, I didn't have the courage to attempt to try and wear anything else because it had probably looked a bit shit because I wouldn't have known what to pair it with. And as you said, now I always look at your Instagram and it gives you the ideas to how you can pair a yellow pair or a red pair or a blue pair of socks with the right colors and not look, like you've got confused and got dressed in the dark. So I think I'll thank you for that because I use it as my my pin board for style.
I think that's most guys' problem, to be honest. Like I think guys are notoriously bad at kind of styling and fashion. It's like all you've got to do is just look at the catwalk to kind of realize, how guys just have got absolutely no idea what's going on. And it's so true, right? It's like how on earth, like, can you translate, kind of what I'm seeing in a catwalk into, kind of what's being sold in the shops? It's just so far removed from kind of comprehension. And for us, it was the same where, unless you're inspired, kind of visually to kind of show you how good something can look, it's very difficult for you to kind of make that, decision, kind of yourself. And it is actually a skill. It's a skill. Like it's something that, when I first started London Sock Company, I'd probably put myself in a terrible bucket as well. And, you do learn, you kind of learn about colors, you learn about tonalities, you learn about, the difference of kind of, what you're wearing and what it might go with. But I think kind of what's interesting is that most guys have they go on their own journey, and it might start where, like yourself, you're a black sock guy, and then you kind of say, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll be a little bit kind of dangerous and go for maybe I'll go for a burgundy, and,
risque.
Exactly. And then the next thing, like people are commenting saying, oh, like I really like that kind of bit of detail. And you're like, oh, maybe I'll try a bit of mustard or a bit of pink.
Yeah.
And the more inspiration that you can get from seeing examples of guys kind of wearing, similar kind of styled outfits to what you do, but adding that little bit of detail and that little bit of color and, and what can be a subtle way or what can be quite a boisterous way, again, that's all about, kind of personality and giving, kind of that person the opportunity to be an individual, but know that they're going to get noticed for the right reasons.
That's just what I was thinking about, the amount of time since I moved out of the city and up to the Cotswolds. But I've been lucky enough to be wearing your socks for about 2 years now. So you know, I've gone through the whole range of them, and it's probably one of the things that, especially when you're sitting on a trainer in a meeting, that people will notice when you've got bright coloured socks, but you look good with it. It will be that kind of, oh, where did you get those? And you say, well, you want to check out London Sock Company. But that for me was one of those things. I know I saw it on your website. You know, great socks aren't just a finishing flourish on an outfit. They're the first step to effortless style. And that's how I feel. There's a lack of getting dressed and going out at the moment because most people are working from home. So putting on, you know, for me, getting dressed in the morning and putting on, to start with, a nice pair of socks is the first step in feeling that you're not just slobbing around the house, basically.
Yeah, I think as well, like, I mean, like most people are at home, like socks are technically the new shoes. Like, I mean, who's wearing shoes around their house? So I think it is a detail. And, you know, one of the reasons that we kind of really were excited about, you know, at the start of the potential of the brand was the feedback that we were getting from guys who were, you know, used to kind of wearing pretty kind of, you know, cheap, you know, kind of poor quality socks, and then experiencing actually kind of the difference of pulling on a really nice pair of socks that has got, you know, really nice material, that's, you know, the right kind of level of craftsmanship, you know, and the right kind of color vibrancy. And actually, like, it makes a difference to kind of how you feel. And we would get people saying that, you know, that they would wear our socks now as their lucky socks. So they would be going into these kind of situations, whether it was, you know, a guy who kind of proposed to, you know, kind of like his girlfriend, or, you know, another guy who, you know, he basically closed like the biggest investment deal of his life. And, you know, they really make this association with, you know, it's a small detail, but actually it can have a big impact. And that kind of, you know, that opportunity to really kind of inspire that confidence and self-belief, and I think really kind of fundamentally to help, you know, try and make people feel better, you know, about themselves every single day is, you know, you can achieve that by small things, you know, like, you know, putting on a nice pair of socks. And I know it can sound a little bit ridiculous, but we've had so many stories from so many of our customers, you know, who have written in, you know, to tell us that and to share these experiences. It's pretty amazing.
I think funny, that leads me on to, I remember when we held our event where David Gandy spoke at Geeves and Hawks, when they were kind enough to allow us to take it over for the night, a whole Man Academy takeover. But that was kind of the, you know, the basis of, you know, does what you're wearing affect you, you know, the way you feel and your mindset. And, you know, talking to, even if you hadn't listened to the panel, talking to the guys afterwards and beforehand, so many of them said, you know, it's a bit like that saying, you know, make your bed in the morning, start with that, and it will help your, you know, your mindset. But wearing the right things, you know, that for you make you feel, it might be those little compound decisions that make you feel a little bit more, I don't know, give you a bit more confidence through the day. And I think that ripples on to the way you hold yourself, the decisions you make, especially if people are working from home. So I think you're ticking the boxes. Now, for me, I know that with the London Stock Market, it's been kind of a bit of an adventure, because it's, as you say, roughly say 6-7 years. What was it like when you first tried to start or when you got your first pairs of socks and then started sending them out?
It was exciting. I mean, unfortunately, not many people bought them, so it was one of these kind of moments. Yeah, well, exactly. You're like, you know, you kind of you think, right, you know, this is going to be massive, and we're going to make this huge from the start, and then you launch your website, and you look at the kind of traffic that's hitting it. It's like, you know, one person, and you're so excited, and then they don't buy. But yeah, do you know what? Like, it's been a journey, and I think that's been something that we realized very early on, that, you know, there isn't really a destination. It's really about the journey, and it's about enjoying the journey. It's about celebrating kind of like things that go well. You know, it's not taking things too seriously, and it's just making sure that you have fun. Like, if you're starting a business and you're not having fun and you're stressed out by it, you're probably doing the wrong thing. You know, it's incredibly hard. You know, it's very kind of like all kind of encompassing in terms of the amount of effort and energy it requires. But, you know, you either love that or you don't, you know. And I think for us, you know, when we first started, like I mean, to be honest, like, we started with a mindset of, well, we'll just do this until we come up with a better idea. And and you know, here we are kind of 7 years later, and, you know, it's you know, it's been a really tremendously exciting roller coaster of a journey with lots of ups, lots of downs, you know. And you just realize that it's never as good as you think, and it's never as bad as you think. It's always kind of somewhere in the middle.
That's it. That's a good one to remember. I might have to write that down for our Instagram quotes. What's it been like with you and Dave? I mean, firstly, how did you meet? But your relationship, because as we all know, going into business with someone is a bit like a marriage, as it were, especially if you're going to be working together and there's money on the line. So how's that developed over the years?
So we used to work together at Accenture, so in kind of slightly different parts of the business, but in the same kind of focus area group, and we were just really good mates. Like we just, we shared a love of, kind of drinking, kind of going out, having a laugh. We would go to kind of various events and just always be the ones kind of like, at the back of the room, standing by the bar, kind of, and we just had a really kind of good connection. Lots of similarities in terms of, both entrepreneurial, shared values, shared outlook on life, I think shared sense of ambition, and, both very kind of, I think, aware that, Accenture, which is kind of where we were at the time, was about us trying to learn as much as we possibly could about big business, but it was a stepping stone to us going and doing our own things, independently.
Yeah.
And we weren't kind of necessarily planning on kind of starting a business together. We actually said, right, well, let's just get into a kind of a room once a week, in the Accenture building, kind of, and just spend an hour or so, after work, of course.
Yeah.
Spending an hour or so just brainstorming ideas together. And I had my ideas, and there was another business that I was kind of thinking about that I had started a few years before. And then Dave kind of had this mission where he was going to come up with 100 business ideas and shortlist it down to 10, and then really research 5 and then choose one of them. And I think he made it to like 50 something, but kind of kudos to him for getting that far. And we just realized that, as we were kind of doing this brainstorming together, we were just brilliant at developing, kind of ideas together, kind of so much better than we were ourselves. And there was just this real kind of sense of ease, and you kind of mentioned like relationship and marriage and stuff. And I genuinely think that there are, so many kind of similarities, to the relationship of co-founders as there are to actual kind of, sexual partners, for without a better word, and I think it's quite funny, right? Because, we're both, kind of, heterosexual individuals, and both my mum and my dad and his mum and his dad were like, you know what, like if you guys were gay, you would make the best couple ever. And I think that there's a lot to say about just how kind of easy things are, and we support each other. We have a kind of natural ability that, when Dave's having a bit of a rough time, I'll naturally take on a role to just try and support and to try and lift him, and exactly vice versa when it's the other way around. And we've also got a brilliant just ability to kind of understand, when something is more important to the other person to do something than it is to ourselves to not do something.
Yeah.
And I think that comes from trust and respect. And I think just, like I genuinely feel very, very fortunate, kind of having Dave, as a co-founder, because I've, firsthand spoken to other kind of co-founders that have had horrendous experiences, and it kind of seems to be more common to have a bad experience than it does to have a good experience.
Yeah, it sure is a learning experience, whether it's as I know, good or bad, you take along all the little lessons, and obviously hopefully know that at the end it will work itself out. What would you, because I'm lucky enough to have spent a fair amount of time with you in the HQ, helping us kind of just guide the Whole Man Academy. What were the kind of things that you would suggest for I'm not a young entrepreneur, but guys that want to go out and start their own business? Where would you say, like, even just the first simple steps?
I think the first step is kind of understanding what the purpose is. So, and I don't mean kind of, right, well, the purpose is about, selling socks to making socks accessible. It's about like, what's the purpose that you personally feel passionate about, kind of putting into a better place than you start. So for example, is the purpose of, kind of a sustainability brand, for example, kind of to create a healthier planet.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's really kind of understanding what that purpose is, because everything flows from that point down. So in terms of what, the decisions that you're going to make, why you're going to do what you're going to do, what you should say yes to, what you should say no to, the way that you want to present that kind of experience to the customers, how you want to present it to them. I think it all kind of flows up, and the brands that get that purpose right are often the ones that get to success much faster than the ones that aren't and are trying to kind of figure it out as they go along.
Yeah.
I think kind of the second key thing is focus. It's just focus. It's like they kind of say like focus is like, follow one course, kind of until success. And, I genuinely believe that it's so easy to be distracted when you're starting a business with so many different opportunities and so many different directions that you can go in. And I think it's really just taking a step back and just thinking, right, what is the path to get me to where I want to get to in 6 months?
Yeah.
And then it's okay, well, what do I need to do in order to get me there this week, next week, the week after? And really kind of focusing on, what can I do every day that's making things a little bit better and it's getting me a little bit closer to what that goal is. And having relatively short-term goals will kind of allow you to one, achieve them, but also stay really kind of focused, because for everything you say yes to, you're saying no to other things.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And I think that it is just, it's amazing how many entrepreneurs that, kind of I'll speak to who just get totally lost and confused because they're just being pulled in so many different directions without really kind of understanding, kind of what it is that they're trying to do and why they're trying to do it.
I think that just quickly on that point, I mean, there's a lot of bits there, but that from my own journey of being a 20-year employee, you're not taught anything about how to work for yourself. And, with the Whole Man Academy, there were so many shiny objects that you can follow, and you'd be having people dangling different carrots in front of you and saying, oh, have you thought about doing this and this and this? And at one point I realized that you were, maybe posting on social media just because you thought you had to, as opposed to ensuring there's some real value in what you're posting. And sometimes I had to say, do you know what, this week, on Monday, I'm only focusing on the podcast and guests, and Tuesday I'm only focusing on the website, because just like you said, otherwise it can be quite overwhelming.
Yeah, do you know what, there's so much vanity over sanity in business. People just focused on the wrong things, people just thinking that they're doing something because it is genuinely that kind of that vanity feeling, right? And fundamentally business is simple. People often make it complicated. And I 100% believe that. And I think, part of that kind of vanity, versus sanity, it's like sanity is really understanding what is going to grow your business. What are the key metrics, the key drivers that I need to understand, that I need to measure, that I need to make sure that I'm focused on in order to get me from A to B. It's not the vanity of, this person is going to wear our socks and that's going to transform our business. It's absolutely not, right? It's great. And it's a great kind of, validation of the product and the brand and the people who can, decide whatever they want to wear, they can afford anything regardless of the price, want to wear our product. That's brilliant, right? And that's an important part of kind of what's exciting about it for us. But it's more of a vanity measure than it is a sanity measure. The sanity measures for us are much more analytical around, like how are we acquiring our customers? How are we making sure that we retain our customers? How are we kind of trying to, kind of provide the best experience so that it de-risks someone wanting to purchase from us, which is, why we kind of launched that SockSure guarantee where, if anyone has any problem within 12 months, we'll sort it out for them. We'll replace the socks with no questions asked. And the reality is that, most people, never do that, and, that's fine. We actually like people when they do that because, it gives us an opportunity to kind of understand where they have a problem and make things better.
Yeah, improves the system.
But I think really kind of understanding the difference between what you're working on and almost splitting it into that, right? Is this vanity or is this sanity? I think is definitely a game changer when people kind of actually start really focusing on the right things.
I'm going to put that on some post-it notes on my whiteboard. Whatever you're about to do, is this vanity or is this sanity?
Yeah, and you could give yourself an hour of vanity a day. That's fine, It's just as long as it's not a full day of vanity. That's.
I'll have to ask permission. Well, moving on to now we've spoken about Dave, but what about David? So obviously he's one of the London Sock Company ambassador, and he's modelled the socks, an investor and a designer, I think, as well. How did that come about? And I know I think you told me a long time ago about a bit of a crazy night where he finally got involved, kind of fully with the London Sock Company. But how did that all start?
Yeah, it was quite random actually. So I mean, we actually got kind of aware of David through Joe Ottaway. So Joe's he was actually kind of head of men's personal shopping at Selfridges at that time. And when we left our jobs, you know, in the corporate world, we just thought, right, we need to cleanse ourselves from this kind of this corporate attire. And being non-fashion people, we kind of thought, well, let's just go and try and, you know, have that experience. Let's spend some time kind of really trying to ask questions and also kind of get some new clothes at the same time. And you know, they don't actually they don't charge for that experience as well. There's no obligation to buy anything. There's just there's just a hope from their part, I think. But anyway, so we were with Joe, and Joe was brilliant. You know, Joe was like, when you're kind of spending 3 hours with someone, like, they're as interested in what you do as they are about, you know, helping you with your, you know, thinking about, you know, maybe different items that you wouldn't have thought about, and the styling element of it. And, you know, he just loved the concept. He loved the simplicity of it. He loved the focus. You know, he thought, you know what, like, guys, like, this is like, socks are such a great starting point for most guys to start, you know, becoming more aware of style and fashion. And, you know, you can go on that journey from kind of conservative to color, or plain to pattern. And, you know, it's brilliant. I really love the idea. If there's anything that I can do to help, let me know. So we basically got, you know, our samples. I think it was like a couple of weeks later, and we kind of said to Joe, look, we'd love to just get your feedback on samples. And, you know, he was like, yeah, absolutely, 100%, we'd love to. So we went into Selfridges, and we kind of sat down with him, and we showed him the socks. And, you know, he just loved them. He loved the simplicity, the quality, the attention to detail, the branding. And just thought, you know what, like, I know someone that I think would really love this brand. And, you know, clearly at this point it was all about the subscription. So kind of, you know, getting someone where they can actually kind of sign up and get a new pair of socks, you know, delivered to their letterbox every month, you know, which is still, you know, a strong proposition of what we've got. And it's as much about that kind of that monthly gift, you know, kind of that is quite nice to receive than kind of having that addition to your wardrobe, your sock drawer every month. But Joe was like, you know, like, I think David Gandy would really like these. And, you know, we were kind of like, who's David Gandy? And I probably should admit that on this podcast, but I mean, not being in the industry at all, or not being particularly kind of involved in the industry, we and also not being a woman, you know, we had to do a bit of kind of Googling, and we were like, oh my God, like, this is exactly the guy that, you know, kind of, that we would love to get some socks to. And Joe said, okay, well, like, if you let me have some, you know, I'll give them to him. So, you know, we reluctantly gave him one pair of socks because we only had 15 samples at this point.
Take care of it.
Yeah. And we gave them to him, and you know, Christmas came a few months later. I think it was about a month later, actually. And we kind of gifted him a gift subscription. He was one of the IOUs for the, you know, when we get our socks in January, you know, you can kind of activate it and experience it. And he did. And we dropped him an email to follow up and just saying, oh, thank you so much for activating your subscription. Like, we'd love to get some feedback from you. And, you know, like an absolute kind of gentleman, he replied back, you know, saying, you know, I think that the product's brilliant. I love the quality, love the focus of the product and the category. I love the subscription idea, because, like, who wants to go shopping for socks? You know, so just being able to kind of have that convenience of just socks turning up is what he thought was a really smart idea. You know, good luck. And we just thought, you know what, like shit, we need to kind of do something to get on this guy's radar more. And Joe had mentioned it was his birthday coming up, and one of my friends just conveniently happens to be a world-class mixologist. And we just happened to know that that DG is a bit of a connoisseur of fine alcohol. So as we've since had many nights experiencing that together. And we said to her, like, Dee, like, we need you to invent a cocktail for David Gandy. And she was really excited. And I was like, she's like, okay, like, when do you need it for? And we're like, tomorrow. And she's like, okay, leave it with me. So I woke up in the morning, and I had a WhatsApp message with, you know, the recipe of the cocktail. And we kind of typed onto some really nice card, kind of took it to, it was a Snappy Snaps, and kind of framed it in a really nice kind of what looked like mahogany wooden frame. I'm not sure if it was probably more MDF, but it looked good. And then we kind of put a card on top of it, which was, just, we just wanted to say thanks for kind of like your feedback, and we were really excited, to create this cocktail for you for your birthday as a thank you with our friend, kind of Diane Quiones. And the one condition is that we get to buy you your first one. And we put it on top of a 15-pair box of socks, and we took it to his agency, and we were like, how do we get this how do we get this gift to David?
Where is he?
And it was really funny, because I remember them saying to me, if you just leave it here, we'll put it in the room with all the others. And we're like, just out of curiosity, how many gifts does he get? And they're like, well, we're sending an Addison Lee minivan round to his house later. And we're like, there's no way that he's gonna get it or open it. And our hearts sank a little bit in that moment. And the next morning I woke up and I had an email from David Gandy saying, absolutely adored the London Gandy, would love to meet you guys for drinks, let's do it with Joe, let's get something in the diary, and really looking forward to it. So a bit of kind of email banter back and forth, as you'll be familiar with. And 3 weeks later, we were in Donovan Bar at the Browns Hotel, having prepped them on how to make the London Gandy, which we aptly named the cocktail. And we ended up having rather quite a few of them, and ended going out, and back to his place at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm cooking an omelette in his kitchen, and Dave's passed out in his couch, and the best relationships kind of happen like that. And
oh, definitely.
He's just been brilliant. Like he is just one of life's good guys.
Yeah.
And he cares. He's super kind of intelligent, especially around branding and the whole kind of fashion industry. And he's been a real kind of, I guess, mentor for us, in terms of helping navigate us through, kind of a lot of the marketing and branding elements, thinking about, kind of creative ideas. And he's always really keen just to kind of get involved and kind of add any input and advice. And I mean, our kind of relationship now is more kind of friendship than it is business.
You spend a lot of time WhatsApping him nonsense.
Yeah, I think if I was to look at the amount of kind of videos and stuff that we've sent to each other, it's probably in my top 5. So it's
well, there's a lesson, I guess, for I always say you've got to be persistent with these things. And remember one of the guys we had at one of our events who hosts one of the big podcasts, and he said, you can ask people, and sometimes a no is a not yet, if you look like that, and sometimes you just have to keep trying. So I guess that the lesson there is kind of mildly stalk someone in a nice way, and you can be thoughtful and find a way.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thoughtfulness is the key. I mean, we're lucky because like the relationship with David has been extremely organic. Yeah. So there's never been any kind of sense of we're trying to build a relationship with him for who he is. Like we get on really well, the three of us, and we've got a really kind of strong connection. I think we kind of come from quite similar backgrounds, fairly kind of working class, trying to really kind of be ambitious about what we're trying to achieve and the journey that we really want for our lives. And I think that it becomes, if it's not authentic, it's very easy to see through it. And I think that for a lot of people kind of who are looking to try and kind of build relationships kind of with people, it's got to be organic. And I think there also has to be a sense of win-win for both. It's not to say that, we're in a position to kind of be able to give Gandy a lot, but from a personal perspective, or from a, just being able to kind of run ideas or trust an opinion, and I think, when you become uber famous, like Gandy has, it's very difficult, I think, for people like that to kind of know who to trust and who just wants to be friends with them because of who they are, versus be friends with them because of actually really who they are. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really important distinction. And I've always been a believer of, if you treat them like a celeb, they'll treat you like a fan. And it's as simple as that. And when you meet people, who are kind of in that kind of limelight, in the kind of celebrity famous world, you know, you have an opportunity of how you want to define that interaction with them. You know, and you can ask them for a picture, a selfie, you know, or you can ask them for an autograph, but you're making a decision in that moment that you want to treat them like a celeb, and the only reaction that you're going to get is they're going to treat you like a fan.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that there needs to be kind of like just an awareness around that, you know, for anyone that is looking at trying to build relationships with, you know, with celebrities or high profile people.
It's funny as you say that, because if someone took my phone now and had a look at what David and I share, it's generally pictures of chickens, cars, and our kids doing stupid stuff. So it's all the highbrow stuff. I also moved to one village away from him in the Cotswolds, so that shows I was quite dedicated. He's actually, you know, found out he lived one village away. Now, well, let's talk about the Whole Man Academy, because that's, you know, generally the reason why we're all you know, kind of on this journey, as it were. For you, who do you talk to apart from Dave? You know, Whole Man Academy is all about guys getting together to talk and, you know, helping them kind of go on their own hero's journey, which I guess it's a bit like the London Sock Company. You could have stayed working, you know, in a, call it 9-to-5 job and be mildly unfulfilled, or say, fuck it, I'm going to go and start something and take some risk. Who have you spoke to get kind of, you know, advice over the years, apart from obviously business partner?
I mean, I'm quite an open person. You know, I'm not someone that kind of finds talking difficult. You know, so like my mum's a counsellor, right? So I think I've probably indirectly had counselling for 38 years. But no, and I think genuinely that there is no off button, right? So
yeah.
I think I've just always kind of been comfortable expressing myself, and I think that it's genuinely really important. And I've got a few, you know, really close friends, you know, kind of that, you know, I know that when I've got a problem, whether it's personal, you know, or whether it's professional, that, you know, I can trust their kind of perspective. And I think that there's a lot of friends that you know that people might have, and it's like, you know, you absolutely love them to death and they're brilliant people, but you know, when it comes to kind of asking for advice, you probably maybe not the right person.
Yeah.
And I think it just depends on, you know, kind of the qualities, you know, kind of from various friends. But I'm very fortunate. I've got a few, you know, kind of very you know, very kind of supportive friends that are, you know, that are always there, regardless of if it's a, you know, if it's just a meltdown moment, which doesn't really happen very often, you know, kind of, or just, you know, personal kind of with professional. Because, you know, when you're an entrepreneur and you're full on into a project, you know, there kind of often isn't an off button, because you take everything home with you because you're so passionate and you care about it so much. So that can be really kind of, you know, kind of, that can play a toll, you know, on your kind of personal life. But, you know, I think it is important to kind of to be vocal about it and to talk about it. And, you know, I think it's something that, you know, if more guys do, then they're going to find themselves being infinitely more comfortable, infinitely less stressed. And I think just focusing on what they can control, not on what they can't control. And, you know, focusing on what people can't control is often, you know, kind of that's the kind of the downturn, right?
I think that's that advice is similar to what trying to think which episode, but quite early on we interviewed Daniel Priestley, who I don't know if you know, is a co-founder of Dent, which is all about becoming a key person of influence and creating digital assets, and, you know, very much about building a business. But he was very much about the same, you know, that especially when you are running a business and you've got a lot of plates to juggle, is, you know, if you're worrying about all the stuff that you can't control, you're going to, well, quite frankly, exhaust yourself. And what's the dynamic then with you and Dave? Who's the worrier, or are you as equal in your kind of handling of situations?
Neither of us are actually warriors. You know, that we both seem to have a really kind of strong ability to just pause and then move forward.
Yeah.
You know, we don't spend a lot of time worrying about things that have happened. Like, we kind of, you know, all of our energy is spent on, you know, very quickly drawing a line and making a decision and moving forward. And I think that's been something that has been so important, you know, to our relationship together as co-founders, but also in terms of moving the business forward, and actually not dwelling on things that haven't worked or things that have gone wrong, but just very quickly drawing a line, on top of that, and then moving forward. And we bring that to our relationship, regardless of whether it's something that I've done and maybe, okay, shit, I shouldn't have done it like that, and that's kind of ended up not as good as we would have wanted to, or it's caused a problem. And there's no blame culture, kind of within the two of us. There's no, oh, that was, I can't believe you did that.
Yeah.
We almost kind of have a kind of strange ability to just almost kind of pick the other person up when they're feeling shit. So it's like, I know that Dave's feeling shit, right? I'm gonna step in and I'm gonna do something. And often when Dave's in a bit of a, if he's in a bit of a mood, it's either because he's hungry or he's dehydrated. And the number of times that I would just say to him, like, Dave, go get a snack.
Angry.
And straight away, like, it's just, he'll smile and he'll laugh and he'll go off and he'll get a snack and he'll come back and he'll be fine. And I think it's knowing each other so well.
Yeah.
We know when to kind of intervene, and we know how to get the best out of each other. And I think that's really key.
Sounds just like some of the best friendships I have, is that sometimes you know when to give someone a bit of space or when to step in. Well, one of the things that one of the many things I like about the London Sock Company is you're not just selling socks and on that side of it, but the good causes. So I know it was the Share a Pair initiative and the different things that you've done with Star for Soldiers, etc. What was it that drew you into that in the first place?
Right from the kind of the outset, we were really kind of passionate about creating something that we would be proud of. And we've always been kind of quite socially aware, just as kind of as people. And I mean, one of my kind of longer term ambitions is to start a foundation. And I think thinking about kind of legacy, and thinking about when you're kind of in that really morbid situation of lying in your deathbed and you're reflecting on your life and you're thinking about do I feel fulfilled?
Yeah.
What does that sense of fulfillment actually mean? And if you're spending your time kind of on stuff that isn't going to say yes in that moment, you're just spending your time on the wrong things. Like, you need to literally, like, in that exact moment, stop and just ask yourself, what the fuck am I doing? I need to be doing something else. And for us, like, that social supporting element was always going to be something that we wanted to do. And even from the outset, we were going and kind of buying these really thick, warm socks and just taking them and distributing them to homeless people around kind of the areas that we were living in. And it just evolved very organically. And kind of anytime we had an opportunity to support with something, we would want to do it. And it kind of almost got to a point where it was becoming too, I guess there was too much stuff and not enough focus.
Yeah.
But we aptly named it our Pull Your Socks Up campaign, because again, it's that thinking about that kind of moment when you wake up in the morning and you pull up your socks, and you're defining your mindset for the day. And we wanted to try and get people thinking about kind of what they can do to support others, as well as what they can do to make themselves feel good. And it's been an amazing journey. And it's kind of three core areas of really inspiring confidence and self-belief, within kind of our communities and within men. It's about kind of really kind of trying to support kind of people in need. So whether that's homelessness or refugees who just need the kind of that warmth, and also kind of like a newer kind of focus around sustainability, which is something that we've got some quite kind of exciting stuff planned for next year. But I mean, share a pair has been great. I mean, we're looking at things 47,000 pairs in 2020.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And
keep the homelessness. I know there's to state the obvious, there's lots of good causes that people can raise money for, but I always think it doesn't matter who you are. If someone said, listen, hey, tonight you're going to spend a night on the streets. And very quickly, I only know because many years ago, I did it as a charity thing, and we spent one night basically sleeping in cardboard boxes. And don't forget, we'd had a nice shower that morning. We had warm clothes on, etc. But we felt so shit through the night and the next day that I cannot understand what it must be like. So, very much for me, at some point with the Whole Man Academy, if it was going to be to do with helping men in another way apart from our podcast and etc., you know, the homelessness is one of the big things, because no one should be out on the streets, no matter what's happened to you. Having a roof over your head and being able to have dinner and a hot shower every night, and the security should be a given, not if you're lucky.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It should be a basic human right, and sadly it's not. And sadly there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people, on the streets who are homeless, and it's just looking at how you in your own way can support them. And I think a lot of times people just think, oh well, it needs to be something big, but actually it doesn't. And I think what's more meaningful as well is not just kind of thinking, oh, I'm going to put my hand in my pocket and I'm just going to donate money, but actually kind of trying to kind of understand where there are some real problems, and see how you can support that in whatever capacity that you can.
Yeah, no, that's what I think, is do what you can. I recall my last job when I was working in central London was just by Trafalgar Square. And there was a guy who was homeless called Steve, who used to stand outside and he was in his 60s, but he would stand outside. He was a big butch guy, but he would do kind of ballet poses and silly stuff, but it would make tourists stop and take a photo of him and get chatting to him. And I remember then it was a good example of, I'd stop, and he loved Formula One. So we'd stand for 5-10 minutes chatting about, the latest F1 race and having a chat. And then it'd be hard to remember that night he would be sleeping under a bridge or something. And I remember I went back out to the office and I bought my copy of The Big Issue. And one of the guys said to me, "What you got there?" I said, "Oh, it's my copy of The Big Issue. I got it from Steve, the guy downstairs." And he said, "Oh, is that idiot that does those silly poses and stuff?" And I was like, that guy's homeless and he's doing whatever he can to, he's running his own little business, basically. And some people just don't understand, and they just walk on by, and you're like, do you know what? As you said, anything that you can do is, however little it is important. So it's on my vision board to help. Maybe it's focusing on men that are homeless, seeing as we're the Whole Man Academy, but it's in the plan. So what next? What next for the London Sock Company?
So I mean, it's been a roller coaster year, to say the least. I mean, we're very kind of fortunate. I think any business that survived the last 9 months is a better business as a result. And we've had a lot of change. Kind of both. Kind of within certain team members. Who've decided that they wanted to go off and pursue their own opportunities. To thinking about how we kind of really reorganize the kind of the operating model of the business, the way that we want to operate ourselves. And it's just about refinement. It's about getting better across all the different channels. And I think next year we're particularly excited by a number of campaigns. Really looking at kind of trying to, I guess, kind of expand the relevancy kind of what our customers and communities are doing at the moment. So it's less going to the office. It's not that our socks can only be worn with suits. I mean, I've been, and I'm sure, I know a lot of our customers have are kind of sporting London Sock Company with their jeans or with their pajamas or whatever. But I think it's also kind of moving into the world of outdoors. So, we're kind of launching an outdoor campaign as well, with an outdoor collection in January. Like I kind of said, we've got a big focus next year on sustainability. So we've got some really exciting stuff that's happening around that. Into summer, spring, summer. So again, kind of, being more relevant for, for all occasions for our kind of customers of various things that they want to do. But I don't know. I think I've never been more excited about where we are as a business and the opportunity that's in front of us. And it can be a challenging roller coaster, kind of as when you're kind of founding a business. And I think that there's been some real positive change this year that puts us in such a phenomenally exciting kind of phase for next year, that it's I'm nothing but excited, to be honest.
It's a priceless feeling to have. I know you. I'm guessing with the success of the London Sock Company and it's a cool, stylish men's brand. Do you find that you have lots of people that try to do some kind of collaboration with you? Because I know you're doing something with Groom at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we get approached quite regularly now, which is actually really like it's an amazing kind of compliment. It's quite humbling, to be honest. I'm like, why do you want to collaborate with us? And yeah, I mean, I think kind of collaborations are brilliant, right? It's an opportunity, you know, to really kind of come together and create something that is better, you know, kind of than necessarily the, you know, kind of just what you're doing and just what they're doing. And I think it's an opportunity to just be creative. I mean, we've done collaboration as well with Sipsmiths. We've got our kind of sipping style set, and when we kind of came up with that idea, there was like what have gin and socks got to do with each other?
Who cares? It's a good combination.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, I think that we're always really excited. You know, we did a collaboration last year with McLaren, and you know, we created this amazing kind of gift box, which is inspired by the kind of the V8, and you know, it was just really fun to do it. And yeah, I think collaborations are just part of our brand DNA, and I think that we're really kind of open and excited, you know, kind of to do partnerships. And I think the challenge is, you know, back to that point earlier where, you know, it's just about understanding which are the right partnerships and collaborations that we can do and that we want to support, because, you know, for everything you say yes to, like I said, you're saying no to someone else.
Yeah, no, I think that's, you know, I'm on a much smaller scale, but learning about that with the Whole Man Academy, because, you know, I guess it's always that thing of, as opposed to anybody that reaches out to you, you go, yeah, let's do a collab. You're like, actually, would I use their products? Am I, you know I'd always wears your socks, and like James and Jake who support us, I'd always use their stuff. You know, it was great of Geese and Hawks to allow us to not only use their venue, but, you know, allowed me to wear one of their lovely blazers, which I loved. But yeah, certainly you had it where some people reach out and say, "How we want to do something," and I'm like, it's not that your stuff's not good or bad. It just doesn't resonate with what the Whole Man Academy is. So basically, if I don't like it, it's not happening. So it's interesting to see.
That's a good line to have, though. You know, it's like if I don't like it, it's a no.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there is something in, you know, it's like if it's not a fuck yeah, it's a no.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm going to use that at my email. That's my email sign off. If it's not a fuck yeah, it's a no. I was going to ask you. So with the design of the socks, there was a couple of quick fire questions, but how long is it? If you said, right, I've got this new idea for a new spotty design for the socks, or stripy, or stars, or whatever you want, what's the time from you coming up with the idea to you seeing it available on the website, roughly?
It can be anywhere from 3 to 6 months. You know, sometimes it can be a little bit faster. Sometimes it can be a little bit longer. I mean, a lot of it depends on, you know, how focused the team are on getting that done for a certain time frame, because there's always so much stuff happening. You know, it's just about prioritizing what they're working on. Well, they're prioritizing what they're working on. You know, so yeah, I mean, typically I'd say 3 to 6 months.
It's always interesting it's all these little things I learn, you know, as you're talking to guys who run a certain business, is, you know, what's the design like process like? And with the socks, remind me what they're made of, because I actually read it, but typically it's gone out of my peanut brain.
So we kind of work with a number of different materials now, but I mean, the most kind of popular common is our Scottish lisle cotton.
Right.
So it's a really premium cotton, which is just, you know, it's super durable kind of, and it's just got a really kind of lovely premium feel to it.
Yeah, no, it's the biggest danger, I think, maybe for any men sitting at home with your socks, is that their partner might steal them and start wearing them. So that's been my issue, is that I'll say, where's my socks gone? And Emma will say, oh, I was just borrowing them and wearing them. So I'm going to have to put a lock on the sock drawer, to be honest. Would there be a male and female version, or is it all going to be male?
So, I mean, funny you say that. So we actually launched this week our first kind of female specific collection, which is, yeah, I mean, we've basically taken kind of 3 of the floral designs that we had within our Ilaria, who's like an amazing kind of, you know, A-list celebrity stylist who, you know, styles people like Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds. And, you know, she's been a massive kind of fan of the brand. We've worked really closely together for the last few years. And she designed a collection for us. And there's kind of 3 pairs in that, which we just thought would be perfect. So we had them kind of recreated specifically for, you know, kind of like a female foot. You know, not that women can't wear our small size, because they can, and a lot of women do. Yeah. But, you know, there are some kind of subtle, as you know, but there are some subtle differences. And yeah, we were kind of really keen just to kind of test and see, see what kind of feedback we get. And yeah, I mean, we launched them, I think it was on Tuesday, and kind of we've already seen quite a strong pickup from them, which is brilliant.
I'm sure you'll have a fan at my house, so I wouldn't worry about that.
I can sort you out. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Well, before I go, I know you've got a busy schedule, but I just wondered if you had to give guys that are listening one or two bits of advice about how to do life better. What would come into your head as the little golden nuggets for them?
Do you mean in terms of themselves or in terms of? I think think about things. Like, I think really invest the time to think about things and try and understand why you might be feeling certain ways, and what the root cause of that is. And I've had a number of kind of situations where I've kind of been forced to do that, and the difference of doing that versus not doing it is just incredible, and the clarity that you can really get around why you're feeling a certain way and what decisions you need to take as a result of that, I think are just profound. So yeah, I think one is just really spend the time and invest the time thinking, and whether that's by going for walks or kind of just trying to get yourself outdoor in the fresh air, I think always helps. And the second thing is talk to people, people that that you trust, even if it's someone that you haven't really spoken to about personal stuff before, just ask them to look, I really would like to kind of have a chat with you about something and get your kind of perspective on it. And it's amazing how receptive people are to kind of be there for you and support you however you need.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's the common thread of all our podcasts often is the guys saying taking time to focus on what you want, which incidentally this podcast will be released pretty much the same time as the eLetter I wrote today. And the main part of that was, for guys maybe that want to live a life with a bit more adventure, it doesn't mean that you have to leave your job, but maybe you want to write a book or climb a mountain or start a business, a side hustle, but taking the time to focus on what you actually want can be priceless. Otherwise, you're just on a hamster wheel to nowhere, basically.
It's a fuck yeah or a no.
Yeah. Well, look, on that bombshell, on that highbrow comment from you and I appreciate, firstly, helping me with the Whole Man Academy for the last couple of years. It's much appreciated. Also for the socks, which is appreciated by me and Emma, unsurprisingly. And also just creating such a great brand, because for, I think, the guys listening, the London Sock Company is one of those great British brands that you can have confidence in, that you're wearing something that makes you feel that little bit better, basically.
What we can do as well is for anyone listening, we can kind of create codes. So if you put in WMA at checkout, we can do a 20% off.
Brilliant.
Up until the end of the year.
Lovely stuff. Appreciate it. We'll put that on the eLetter as well. Well, on that note, and I appreciate it, we will speak to you soon, Ryan. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, mate.